determination as to what they did or didn't do, that will be handled by someone other than our prosecution team. Yes, sir. I did. I think that after meeting with Trayvon's parents that first Monday night after we got appointed in this case, Bernie was there, John was there, our prosecution team was there. The first thing we did was pray with them. We opened our meeting in prayer. Mr. Crump and Mr. Parks were there. We did not promise them anything. In fact, we specifically talked about if criminal charges do not come out of this, what can we help you do to make sure your son's death is not in vain? And they were very kind and very receptive to that. And as I stated, Mr. Delariando's been in touch with Mr. Crump and with Ms. Fulton and Mr. Martin since we took over this case, and we intend to stay in touch with them. But basically, we only had a few minutes to talk with them. I believe they are going to want to talk later. And they now know that charges have been filed, and they are now hearing, as we speak, that George Zimmerman is in custody of law enforcement in our state. We're very proud of the job law enforcement has done. We're very proud to stand here and tell you that we represent the people of the state of Florida. Thank you so much.
You've been watching for 24 minutes now. A very important and dramatic and emotional announcement. Angela Goriest, the special prosecutor in Florida in the Trayvon Martin investigation. The big headline, George Zimmerman, the man who has acknowledged shooting the 17-year-old Florida teenager 45 days ago, now in custody, charged with second-degree murder. That one count carries a maximum prison sentence of life without parole, a minimum prison sentence of 25 years without parole. Mr. Zimmerman now being held without bond, without bail, although his defense attorneys do have the right to seek a bail hearing as soon as possible. Let's break down what we just heard. I should also note we're waiting to hear from the parents of Trayvon Martin. Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin are here in Washington, D.C. We expect to hear from them momentarily. We will take you there immediately when they speak. But let's dissect what we just heard, this very important shift in this case. Martin Savage, our correspondent, is with us. He is in Sanford, Florida, where this took place. Our legal analysts, Sonny Hostin, Jeff Tubin, and Mark DeJane in Florida. Mark, I want to go to you first because you've had a conversation with Mark O'Mara, who is Mr. Zimmerman's new criminal defense attorney. What did he tell you, and what is his next move?
Well, I spoke to him, in fact, while Ms. Corey was making her announcement, and he's with Mr. Zimmerman, and he is already beginning to start his defense and putting it all together. He learned, when we all learned, about the charge and the fact that it was a no bond and it was a second-degree murder. So the next step will be to coordinate Mr. Zimmerman going to the Seminole County Jail, where he will be booked and processed like anybody else. And like anybody else, he'll have a first appearance the following morning. I suspect that Mr. O'Mara will request a bond at that time, or it will be put off shortly thereafter for a bond hearing so that it can be considered by the court.
And help me understand the specifics of Florida state law. When you file a second-degree murder case, obviously at this press conference, the special prosecutor was very careful. She said, we are not going to publicly discuss the evidence. But what is the burden on the prosecutors? How much of evidence do they have to disclose to the court when they file the information, the complaint?
Well, there's really no information. In Florida, we don't do this by grand jury where it's considered by members of the community in a grand jury. The state attorney, in this instance Ms. Corey, makes a charging decision. They evaluate the evidence, the facts, and if they deem there's enough probable cause in order to file formal charges, the document is called an information, and the information is in fact filed by the state. If there to be a warrant out, then that gets taken before the court, before a judge, excuse me, to issue a warrant for the arrest, and that's what's apparently happened here. A very normal process. It gets a bit complicated thereafter. There's not an automatic entitlement because it's second-degree murder, which is a charge, second-degree homicide. So it's because it is punishable by life. Now it will be Mr. O'Mara on behalf of Mr. Zimmerman to go to court and argue that a bond is appropriate, that there's no risk to the public, and that there are no flight concerns. And another element would be that the risk is not, that the proof is not evident and the